Well, we'd like to thank and welcome everybody today for our part one training of entering data into our EHR, which is electronic health record. And so what we're going to be doing today is just kind of going through and talking about the importance of why we enter notes. Well, what are progress notes first? Why are they important? And then most importantly, how we enter them, because as you all may or may not know, that in these programs, progress notes are what we get compensated for. And so it's very important for us to get those notes in that are legible, billable, that explain that are, that are what Medicaid and the insurance companies require. So we're going to be able to train you in that and get you some good hands-on information. We have with us, my guest today is Ms. Catherine Johnson, and she helps us with all things behavioral health wise. So when it comes to working with our kids and for behavioral issues, outbursts, things like that. But she also helps us with making sure that we can properly track our kids and be able to, from that information, being able to pull information out and being able to put plans together, uh, individualized service plans that'll really speak to that child's individual issues and how we may help and be able to give that child tools to help him or her, his or herself going forward. So, Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you and welcome. So let's go ahead and take over.
Yes, hello. As Mr. Peterson stated, I am Catherine Johnson. I'm a QMHS qualified mental health specialist. And what we are introducing today is our EHR ICANS. That is what we use to input the notes. We also have a form that we're going to show you all how to use
Yes.
to help assist in writing notes once you get to that point, because during groups, we won't be keeping notes, but we want to have something to keep reference. So we'll go over that as well. Uh, I'm going to share my screen. Do we want to jump right in or?
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Oh, by the way, my name is William Peterson. I am the operations officer with Loving Heart Youth Services. I also do some work with GPS to Success Training. So we like to thank them as being our training partners this in this endeavor as well. So yes, go ahead, Ms. Catherine.
Right. Okay. So the first thing I said, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Let me move this from my screen so I can see. I'm going to log into our EHR, which is ICANS.
Now, EHR stands
Mr.
for
Peterson. Oh, go
Electronic
ahead.
Health Record, and that is where we log in all of our information on what we've done with the kids or our clients, and then that from that point, it is then submitted to the insurance companies for payment.
So let's talk about the flow of how this will go, how this looks from sign up until programming. So when clients get signed up, they'll fill out a demographic form and a pre-assessment with their parent and with the client. Next, we will enter their information into ICANS. We'll enter their information. The next thing we have to do is their assessment. Their assessment is what begins the process of them being recognized in this electronic health record. From that assessment, once we get everything that's going on with them, we'll get their diagnoses, what they're dealing with, any presenting problems. We'll go to their treatment plan. Their treatment plan is what drives all of the instruction, the activities, all the things that we'll be doing with our clients. So those two things are our first two things that are very important to get everything started and to be able to drive instruction. Do you have anything to add to that, Mr. Peterson?
No, I think you're right on the money.
Okay. Would you mind actually sharing your screen and putting up that the fillable form? Because I think that would be nice to see first.
Okay.
And this form that Mr. Peterson's going to show is going to align directly with our ICANS check-on list for doing our notes. I'm not going to go into depth today about the assessment and the treatment plan process, but just know that the assessment is getting done by an LSW to get their correct diagnosis. And then the treatment plan can be done by a LSW, but it can also be done by a QMHS by looking at the assessment, seeing what's needed.
Give me one
From
second. I'm
that,
still looking
what we're
for
going
it.
to go over today, say it again.
Give me 1 second. I'm still looking for it.
No problem. From that, we're going to go over from the assessment and treatment plan, we'll do our notes based off of what happens in our group. So your group could be going to a library. Your group could be a summer camp. It could be it could be a day camp. All of these things can be counted as a group. We'll get into more details of that, but I'm going to show you all how to record the group. While Mr. Peterson's pulling up that sheet, I want to show you all what the group note looks like. So if you saw, let me go back and talk out what I'm doing. So this is the beginning page of our electronic health record. Okay. And then from here, from this beginning page, it's like a file cabinet. These are where all the clients will be housed. Now we're going to go to therapy groups. Okay. Our group is at the top. Now, when you all go, you'll see your groups respectively, and you'll click on your group that you have done. So right now, here's my group. Okay, here are my groups right now. Let's say I had a group I'm going to continue on here. So my last one was the 9th. I'm going to add my group for June 10th. Okay, encounter date, June 10th. Group therapy notes. I title mine, based off of what we do. And if you
Okay.
hear, I have my paper right here with me, because I was in the midst of actually doing mine. So on the 10th, our topic was proud of my culture. So proud of my culture. And that kind of helps you reference and easily get to a topic if you have to browse back and see what group you were in, okay? We'll go into more details about the service codes and everything, right, Mr. Peterson? We're just going to get into
Yes. The check-in
the
sheet and
meat
things
of
like that. Yes.
it. Okay. So I'm
Okay.
going to save that, and I just want you all to see what it looks like okay. All right. So once we start a new group, you see right here, I have June 10th. I have all of my clients. Right here is where my group notes are going to be. So this group note that I do right here is going to apply to every client that was a part of the group. Then the next part that I do is click on each various clients and add their individualized notes, how their remarks were, what they did in that group, how they reacted.
And so let's talk
Mr.
about let's flow that into the check-in sheet and how that would look like
Mhm.
when we have our QMHS on the ground working with the kids in the actual group. So
Awesome.
when
Okay.
you're ready, I am.
All right. I'm ready for you. Guys, go ahead. You can share your screen.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes. So this
Okay.
is what the QMHS will have with you. If you're doing a group at a church or at a gym or anywhere, you're going to have these papers with you, or you can have this virtually on the tablet just to keep track right after group. Okay. So we see all this information. This is called our group therapy check-in. This is directly related to ICANS. So the QMHS, you'll put your name, you'll put the group date, and as you all see, this is fillable. So we may be able to send this to you, and if you have a good way to fill out notes directly after your group, that's best practice. So we don't forget those details.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna get all this information.
So
Therapy
not
type.
yes, therapy type. What would that be?
We are doing psychoeducation and group therapy.
Hmm. Now, if we are a football team or a drill team or things like that, or something, it may be recreational therapy as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of depends, but yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Group type, we're doing activities. And as you all see, all of the different types. So also think about when you're filling it out for yourself, let's talk about what specifically you are working in. Okay. But for
So
the
if
most
you,
part, we're doing activities.
yeah. So, but and there may be a situation where today is you'll get one of our lesson plans that'll be art. It'll be art heavy, right? They'll be doing things
Mhm.
like that. So then you can also make that will be an art group. For our drill team folks who are using music and things like that, it would be an activity, but it would also be a music group, right? And this will just kind of give you this actually also can give you some ideas of what kind of group activity or group focus you want to have. Let's say you guys want to go to the park and you want to go, on a nature walk or something like that. Then that's an outing. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're going, we work with some Pee Wee football teams and Pee Wee basketball teams. They may have an overnight type situation. So then that would be an overnight. So feel free to look through this and um, determine, but mainly, yes, it will be activity. But if you want to flavor it a little bit with some of the specifics that you guys are doing, it could be activity plus overnight. It can be activity plus art or whatnot.
Yes. And this is pretty self-explanatory. How many group members do you have present? If you have more than any of these amounts, you can put in your additional count. Okay. Group leader interventions. This is where you're going to discuss what you did to facilitate this group, how you got them closer to reaching their goals. And that's the whole purpose. Sometimes I like to think about the mindset of what we're doing. The whole purpose of these groups is to get them closer to their goals. Okay. So, what are we doing? What are the interventions that we're doing? We got discussion facilitated, exploration encouraged, extrapolated to life, role playing, facilitated group process, involved all group, kept group focused,
Mm,
limits and boundaries, worksheet activity, psychoeducation provided, supports and structure. Okay, so I went through all of those because a lot of times it'll be more than one. So since we're doing psychoeducation, and we're always going to check psychoeducation provided, okay, a lot of times we're going to have a discussion. In a group, we're going to have some type of discussion. So we're discussion facilitated, okay. Also, kept group focus.
right.
That's a big part of us just being a facilitator. We're going to keep them focused. We're going to make sure that everyone is involved. We're going to check that box as well, involved all group. We don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, but we also want to still include everyone, even if it's just, making mention of them. But that's an important part of group. All right. And then whatever other topic you're talking about, I know we do a lot of work with young people talking about limits and boundaries. That's a big topic right now
Yeah.
that really fits into all settings.
Yes, and I think working with our kids and kids that are underserved or kids that have experienced a lot of trauma
Mhm.
in their just their general society. So when you talk about kids that are in the inner city, you talk about kids and families that experience, just hear a lot of just traumatic sounds like sirens all the time or things like that. Having that support structure is important. Being able to, I like the exploration encouraged but extrapolated to life, as things happening, put that in a life situation, like how does that relate to your real life, and then role playing. So yeah, that's pretty good. So
Yeah.
these interventions, I'm looking at these interventions, Catherine's like, yeah, there'll probably be at least two or three that right off the bat you said discussion facilitated, limits and
Hmm.
boundaries. And a lot of time those come up when kids are picking on each other or something, or wanting to speak out of turn or whatever. Anytime you have to redirect a child or even an adult for that matter in a respectful way, those are limits and boundaries. And then with the worksheet activity, a lot of times for some of our partners that we work with, we will provide them with a daily activity sheet and lesson plan to work with.
Yes.
Mhm.
Another thing that helps too, as I've been writing notes, and I'm just giving you all some practical things because I'm writing notes as well. I'm facilitating groups at a group home right now, and we have a journal. We keep a journal, and that's an easy way, a worksheet activity. That's a consistent thing that we can put in our remarks. Okay, client is keeping track of their progress through writing in a journal. That's that worksheet and activity. That's something consistent that could be done.
And
Okay.
we have uh, some journals for the kids as well. So when you guys get to that point, let us know, and then we'll get those journals out because that is something that is really important that we can work with kids. So we do have journals for the kids and our clients that are participating in these groups. So as newly QMHS, as you get your groups, make sure you get us those numbers that are in your group so we can then ship out those journals to you as well.
Awesome. Okay. So this plan is what we want to continue to do. So we know we want to continue with groups. I often, for the settings that I have, we always continue skill development. Always continue skill development. Sometimes I might have to encourage participation. And remember, this is directly related to your group. So look at these options and think about what you want to work on for your next group. Like, okay, if you were in group and it was kind of hard today, like, man, they're not really participating like I would expect. Okay, so now I know for my next group, my plan is going to be encourage participation. All
Mhm.
right. If I see that a lot of people have not been showing up, that I've only been having a couple of people here at a time, okay, I'm going to make a goal to increase attendance. I'm going to reach out to the families. I'm going to do some things so that I make sure that I have attendance up at these groups. Those are just some examples of how these different parts of our plan can be set. Change group setting. We might be at the library on Philadelphia. I'm in Dayton, Ohio, so we might be at the library, and I'm looking like, okay, this library is kind of loud, or this library doesn't have a lot of options for groups of teens to talk and do the things that they need to do. So we might move to a different area. That can happen. So I
Yep.
might make part of my plan to change the group setting.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So now number six. You want to talk about number six, or you want me to talk about number six?
You can talk about it.
Okay. So in number six, because this word right here kind of threw me, right? Like when I first saw that. And this is on the change, the stages of people changing, right? Let's say you want our kids to stop yelling out in class, raise your hand before you just yell out the answer. Or maybe stop hitting on your little sister during group, something like that, or your friend. Stop punching them in the arm. Okay, so pre-contemplation, this is the stage of change where the kid or the individual has no plans on changing that behavior. They're not they're before pre-contemplating, thinking about it, right? So they're not even thinking about under the pre-contemplation, they're not even thinking about it. So in the beginning of group, and you have some behaviors that you want to looking at that, like, we might want to change that or help that kid help modify some of those that particular behavior issue. That's going to be pre-contemplation, right? When they start thinking about it, when you really can tell that they're thinking about it, then they would move to contemplation. Okay. Um, if you see a kid that's highly emotional, click that as well, because that, again, as we're getting getting these forms back to our clinical team, they can begin to develop some interventions, some coping skills that are going to be related to that child or that client to help him or her through that process. So that's all I have for section 6.
Yes. Yeah, that was straight to the point.
And then,
All
of
right.
course,
And then this part of
actions.
our groups, oh, go ahead. You said the
I
action
was
part.
just action is that they've taken action to actually change it, and then maintenance is just okay. I want to keep on doing these good things, these new interventions that I'm working with, or these new coping skills. So that's what those are.
Group start time, group end time.
They
That's
have to be at least
self-explanatory.
how long? How long are our groups?
We at least need 2.5 hours,
Yes.
2 hours
And
and
if
30 minutes.
now, if you go 2 hours and 35 minutes, we're okay. If you go 2 hours and 36 minutes, we're fine. If you go 2 hours and 29 minutes, we're not very happy campers. We want to just, it has to be at least 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Not 2 hours and 29 minutes and 30 seconds. If it's that, make it, I'd rather you be 2 hours, 30 minutes and 30 seconds. So everything has to be at least 2.5 hours. How long? What's the minimum time of a group? Let's wait for him. Let's say, come on, I'm waiting. Yes, you're right. You got that right. Exactly. 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2.5 hours. You got it. Good job. All right, we're
Yep.
gonna keep going.
Group therapy session information. This is the bulk of the information. We want to make sure that it's detailed, and we want to at least make sure we have a quote, something that the client directly said, because that's the main thing that is required and that we need in a group note. At least a client quote, something to differentiate between the rest of the group. Okay, how they responded. So participants needs interfering with treatment plans. So check them out, look at them. Do they have anything going on with them that could impede their participation in group? Okay. So we see all the options: distant, hygiene, personal care, bruised body, noticeable cuts or welts, swollen body or area, slurred speech, withdrawn, scared, timid, shaking, jumps or pulls away, lice, bed bugs, inappropriate clothing or noticeable change in appearance and attitude, behavior. So basically, we are observing our clients. We are looking at them on the outside, seeing if it's anything that we see that's going on, okay? As we
Yeah,
see
with
down here,
this,
some of the comments and concerns.
yeah, now going with this participant. So these are, keep in mind, this first section, these are needs that are interfering with the plan, right? These are needs that are interfering with the plan. So we have our treatment plan we put together. We say this kid, we're going to work on this kid's anger management. We're going to work on impulse control, right? But when he comes in, okay, we can't even start talking about impulse control because he's distant. Why is he distant? He's withdrawn, and he may seem, and then maybe he has inappropriate clothing.
Mhm.
What could we what could we infer with this kid? Like, look at just as we're observing with that observation.
Hmm.
What could we infer? He's distant. His personal care looks kind of, you know, unkept. He's withdrawn. His clothing is inappropriate.
Yeah. You can take this time to discuss that now as you go.
Yeah. So we're gonna,
So,
yeah. What would
yeah.
that be? It could be a lot of things. And now the question, and at that point, now if there's obviously if there's a situation where there's abuse, there are cuts and welts, whatever, as mandated reporters, we have to report that.
Hmm.
We have to report that.
And then something even on a smaller scale. So we definitely need to
Yeah.
report abuse and things that we're seeing. And we also need to notice if it seems like a family is in need of something. Okay. Because we
Yes.
also
Yes.
offer case management. So it's like,
Yes.
okay, these are healthy parents, they're caring about their kids, but they look like they're going through some things. So what services can we help them with?
Yeah. That's so I'm so glad you said that because that is now, so let's take this situation. The kid is distant. His personal care looks a little, and he seems withdrawn. Okay. And we talked about inappropriate clothing. So this doesn't really involve potentially any type of physical abuse, maybe, but like Catherine just said, these things indicate an issue of something that's going on in the house, that maybe mom lost her job or something like that. And then that's where we, as case manager, the case management part of what we do as QMHS is to help them
Yes.
as best we can.
And that helps to build rapport with these families too. I was going to say a little bit off topic, but it actually is on topic because you can't render services until they can trust you, until the family, they feel like you care about them and noticing things that they need and not being so quick to be like, oh, I want to report you to CPS. No, that's not our top priority. Our top priority is to meet the needs, of
Yes.
our need, behaviorally and social, emotionally, but also if there's some physical things that we can assist with, that's a way to build rapport as well
Right, right.
and get them
Because
to be more reactive, more active in treatment.
yeah. And we have empathy. We love our families with the therapeutic and godly type of love. So we care about them. We want them to be better. We want to help them. And so that's really where we come from as a QMHS, with the helping heart, a heart to help, to reach out, to empower them. And sometimes people say, you've heard people say, uh, teach a man how to fish or that kind of stuff, right? Um, we believe in both. We believe in giving a man a fish, and we believe in teaching him how to fish. We believe in teaching her how to fish, and also at the same time giving her a fish when she's hungry. So these things are not opposite, but they go together. Helping, providing support, but also teaching parents and even the kids how to advocate for themselves, and plugging them into the systems that are there, that are already in place, that are in place to help. So yes, well said.
Awesome.
All right. Remember the
Okay.
second section.
With those observations, we also want to notate if there's any issues. Was it a minor incident report, major incident report? Did we have to notify police for anything? Do we have to notify parents for anything? CPS, caseworker, other, just making sure we're notating any issues that came about.
This right here covers you as well. This covers us as QMHSs. Even if it's like the minor incident report, hey, Johnny, I don't know, well, give me an example of Johnny and Rayshawn got into it. Johnny pushed Rayshawn, Rayshawn pushed Johnny, and then they were done. Nobody got
Mm-hmm.
hurt. Nobody, it was just one of those things. But we did talk with Johnny about listening to the whole situation before he reacts. So you got a
Yes.
minor
Even
incident
if it's
report,
something minor like he slept the whole class today and
the whole,
I let him nap
yes,
for 10 minutes, but the whole
yes,
class he was asleep today.
that's a good one. Yep, absolutely. Um, Mandated, we got to look for participant change in behaviors related to suicidal or homicidal. Hopefully, we don't have any of that, but really, to be honest about it, you might, and we have to be aware of that, and that's why it's in here. That's why it's in here. So if there's no suicidal or homicidal actions, we're going to click no. I guess, or we're going to put an X in there. Yeah, there we go. X. Okay, boom. Keep it moving. And then if you have any comments or concerns, I think you said Johnny slept all day today.
Yes, yep.
Noisy. You know, it was it was loud, loud at his house. As much as we can, we want to get quotes too. If you get 2 or 3 quotes of kids saying specific things, those things are very important. Number 4, are there any participants of a current victim that are a current victim of abuse, neglect, or harm, or self to others? Are there any participants who are current victims of abuse? And then you pick one. Okay. All right. Catherine, it's on you.
Okay, so this is the staff daily feelings check-in. And this part actually can be done at the beginning before your group even gets here. This is for us to assess ourselves because before we lead any group or have any type of influence, it's important to check myself. Okay, how am I feeling? What type of feelings can this lesson bring up for me? Because we're as QMHS, as adults, as humans, we have our own trauma as well. So we really want to be mindful of what we're talking about and what's going on and how that makes us feel so that we can, impact the kids the best way we can or impact our clients the best way we can.
Yep. And so, and please take the time because as much as this is so much for you as an individual as well to just know where you are to check in because a lot of times you're just you're going from you may be going from job to job or you may be going from program to program and sometimes we get to running in the course of a day and we don't check in of like how am I feeling right now, where am I feeling it, why am I feeling that way. And so this is something for you all to, as well. And then we have coping skills down here. So, the relaxation skills, the 3 deep breaths, get or give a hug, relax your muscles. So these are some things. And again, because what we are working with our clients, we're also working it with ourselves because these skills and these learning what we're learning also is good for you uh, as a QMHS. And it's good for you as a regular person in your interpersonal life, being able to manage your emotions, especially those big emotions, being able to manage your emotions, being able to just take a deep breath and calm your body down. Yeah. So those things are good. So, and you may, as you go on there, maybe you'll come up with more skills. We'll add to this more relaxation skills, more distractions. These are all coping skills that we can use. All right, here is the participants' daily check-in sheet. Same information for the most part. Captain, talk a little bit about the level of participation in terms of how would you differentiate between high level of participation or a low level of participation in a group setting?
Okay, so in a group setting,
Yeah,
poor
how do you do that?
participation will say it again.
How do you do that? How do you determine, like, give us some examples of how you determine what is when a participant is having low participation, what does that look like usually?
Well, we know with low participation, they're probably not adding to the conversation.
Yeah.
They're not adding much to the conversation, or it's not helpful.
Okay.
If it's low and poor, then that means that they're probably detracting from the group. They're more so being a distractor to the
Hmm.
group.
Yeah.
Average would be little to no, little to no sharing. Medium would be, of course, medium would be some input. And then, of course, high is input and it's helpful to other
Okay.
people
So
as well.
okay. Yeah.
So we got the highest on the spectrum of giving input. The input is helping others, it's thoughtful, all the way down to the spectrum of poor to where it's distracting from the group.
Okay. And you know what I would say as you go down this and you start talking about their feelings, I would if I had a kid that was sad, maybe I'm just asking sad, and frustrated, his level of participation might be low, maybe, or it might be high because he or she may want to share about it a lot. I don't know, but I would just be interested to see how the feelings correlate with the level of participation.
Yeah.
And then talk a little bit. So rating my progress toward my goals.
Yep, this ties into the treatment plan. Like we said, all of our activities and everything is built off of the treatment plan. So from this activity, how did they do on those goals? They might have a goal of, I will, a big goal that kids are working on is I will be able to complete a task from start to finish. Okay, so within this day, how did they do on completing a task?
About 25%. Oh no,
25%. So if
they
they
was
had
on it, but the other
25%,
day,
I had to keep on reminding them.
keep on reminding. But the other day they was on it. Like I did. I mean, maybe one time I had to redirect John to get on task. I think I'm gonna go. I think so. Even with that one time with John, you got to let him know something about 3 or 4 times. So with John, even though it was only 2 times I had to remind him, I would still give him 100% toward his progress toward his goals. Okay, that's good. Now going back to the feelings, this level of participation, this happens after the group is over, toward the end of the group. Wouldn't you say, Miss Johnson? Yeah,
Yes, you
this
would.
would
Are
be
you saying would I wait until after
yeah,
the group to
yes, to do this
think
part.
about these things?
Correct.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So,
Because like yeah, because they might start off kind of
mhm.
closed off or guarded, and then once they get the feel of the group and warmed up, they might start, give a little more effort. So yeah, it's
so we'll
important to wait till the end.
so we'll start with the feelings, right? We'll start with the feelings. We'll be, on the participant check-in. How do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And then where do you feel it? Right? That's going to be the second part. You
Yeah.
feel it in your head. People feel it in different places. So wherever you feel your stress or your feelings, we'll do that. And then we want to determine what that feeling is. It a tiny feeling? Is it a medium feeling? Or is it a big feeling? Yeah. So Catherine, so that's that. I'm going to take, second here. All right, we are back, and we were talking about the participants' daily check-in. And so we have the form here. It's pretty self-explanatory. We were talking about, as we start off, the participant's name and date. That's pretty straightforward. And then we want to spend a little bit of time on how they're feeling. What emotions are they dealing with? And then as we go down, we got the emotions: sad, peaceful, scared, surprised, overwhelmed, angry, frustrated, confused, nervous, confident, and other. And we really want to have them to kind of think about how they feel and what those feelings are. And then the other part, as we continue, we want them to understand or be able to be mindful enough to see where they are feeling those feelings in their body, right? And that's important. Do you feel it in their head, in their heart, in their stomach, in their legs? That. So it's pretty straightforward. And not only that, but now that they're identifying the feeling, we want to know if that feeling is a big feeling, a tiny feeling, or a medium feeling. Okay. And then usually you can check one off. Is the child happy today? Is he just kind of blah, or is your child angry or frustrated? And then we have our family connection. Catherine, have they talked with you about our family connections? These are things that these are like homework assignments, if you will, that we'll have for you as our
Like
with our lesson
practical
plan.
homework. Yeah.
Practical homework, not like school type homework. So things like family affirmations and celebrations. So when some of our lesson plans, we may give you some things to do to go home to celebrate and affirm people in your family, the kids' family, I should say, the participants' family. Um, Practice SEL skill with families. Play SEL games, social emotional learning is what SEL stands for. Or help out at home. So these are some of the, and when I say homework, I could probably put up air quotes, but these are things that we can do so we can take some of these new things, coping skills that the child is learning or that the client is learning and apply that in their home environment. And then, do you feel safe in your home? Do you have a close friend or family member that you can talk to? And then we're always looking for quotes. We're always looking for quotes. So whatever they're saying, please make sure you get that because that is so important in terms of individualizing the lesson plan or the progress note. And then as usual, behind underneath we have coping skills. It says my feelings are causing me distress. I can use the following coping skills to feel better. And then let them choose what coping skills that they want to use. Catherine, you want to jump in? Any comments that you have? Because I know again, you do this stuff in terms of groups. You're doing groups, every day except Friday,
Nope, you
maybe.
got good details.
Okay.
Good details.
So this is where we're going to start. So, and of course, I know there are probably a gazillion more relaxation skills and distraction skills and movement skills and all that. We get it, but we don't want to overwhelm everybody. We just want to start with 3 or 4. And then as we get others, things that we see that are working, that you see that are working as a QMHS, we'll add those things in. And then this list will slowly begin to grow. So that is, let me see, that is it. Ms. Catherine, any closing comments, remarks?
Not I just a reminder that everything that we do in group is driven from the treatment plan. So it's important to take a look at the treatment plans of your clients. If you're not sure how to access that, we'll go over that as well, how to look in their chart face in their file folder and look at all their paperwork they have so that we know so that the activities that we're doing are aligning with and getting them closer to meeting their goals.
Absolutely.
And have fun. These groups
Absolutely.
can be a lot of fun too.
Yep. Absolutely. So, well, we thank you all for sharing your time with us today and going over the our check-in sheets, which is again it's the cornerstone of how we do what we do as QMHSs. By the way, my name is William Peterson. I am also a QMHS as well, and so these things are very important to me. QMH stands for Qualified Mental Health Specialist, and it is an entry-level position, an entry-level clinical position. And I guess one of the biggest things with being a clinician is understanding that it's not in these situations, in therapeutic situations, it's not about us, right? It's about our clients. And so, that's one of the things we have to get used to where it is, we have to put on our thick skin and sometimes dealing with our clients because again, hurting people hurt people. And so sometimes, could they possibly say something mean to you? Probably. But the expectations that we don't react as if we would do as if our best friend or our loved one says something quote unquote mean to us because maybe that emotion would be a little larger of a reaction than it should be with one of your clients. We got, again, when it's not about you, sometimes we have to take some of those verbal hits. And again, that's why it's important for us to have our own coping skills in place so we can be grounded and have our minds right before we deal with clients and kids and adults who have experienced trauma. So thank you all for what you do. This is a noble cause, a noble work in helping people with their emotions and being able to, most importantly, control and manage their emotions so they're not just tossed to and fro. So thank you guys. And We'll be coming back with some other training series, but this is where we'll start. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
All right.